were 5th in the competition. You're 5th on the pyramid. Sometimes you act like a 5-year-old.
Can you put her picture back up? She deserves to be on the pyramid. She was in the group dance.
She deserves nothing.
I'm not putting up with this crap anymore. Those 5 kids in there put your fat name on the map. She has more class in her little finger at 13 than you have in that big fat body at 45. Get on the children!
Because you're an idiot!
There are so many things I could say to you right now.
Really? Really, Christy?
Yeah, okay,
Really?
50.
You're the chosen ones. You're skinny. You're pretty. You're blonde. You're telling me nobody at school hates you? Wake up.
Things are getting kind of tricky, but it doesn't mean much to a girl like me, cause I can do things that you never believe, even in your wildest dreams.
Don't cry. Be smarter. 8 means 8, not 9.5, not 10. Your kids washed up, Holly. It's finished.
Hi, I'm Jake.
And I'm Shelby, and welcome to the Dance Moms Deep Dive.
In part 1, we dove into just how the ALDC came to be,
And how Abby's reign of terror would land her behind bars.
but today we're going into the cultural phenomenon that is Dance Moms.
The dreadful pyramid,
The rise of the mothers and the daughters of the ALDC,
their subsequent music careers, and how each of them were plucked off the team one by one.
Abby would create a team of dancers from the ground up.
With an reward system that would give her complete control over the young girls and their families.
But what if I told you everything wasn't what it seemed?
The dance competitions were faked. The gag-worthy moments were rehearsed, and the dance moms were fed lines.
But not just that, Shelby and I are exploring the dark underbelly of Dance Moms.
This is part 2 of a now 3-part series, so be sure to tune in next week for the finale of Deep Dive Dance Moms as we get into the complete and utter fall of the ALDC, predators on set,
And Christy and Chloe's revenge. But for now, let's take it back to 2010, where one article was making such big waves, it would inspire an entire TV show. In May of 2010, the dance company Precision Dance performed a high-energy routine to Beyoncé's smash hit Single Ladies, which caused extreme controversy. Many saying the outfits and dance moves were pushing the envelope for girls who were as young as 8 years old. A recording of the performance was uploaded online, where the early iterations of message boards and social media lit on fire.
Yes, they're incredible dancers, but they're 8 and they're gyrating in these provocative moves. They're wearing outfits that could be at a club in Vegas.
Dance moms of Precision Dance would defend their daughter's performance, stating that the video was taken entirely out of context.
These girls were performing at a dance competition, and they weren't performing this for a worldwide audience. And so it's been taken out of context. And so if you keep in mind that this was at a dance competition and these are the kinds of routines that you see in that environment, then that takes away all of the negativity that's been surrounding this.
These costumes are provocative. The dance moves are provocative. This is inappropriate at so many levels. I don't even know how to wrap my mind around it.
And wasn't meant to be viewed by millions of people. The controversial news cycle not only captured the general public's interest in competitive dance, but it actually caught the attention of John Corella, a children's dance choreographer who thought there was a void in reality television for dance. But he didn't want to just showcase dance. He wanted to use the outrage-baiting tactic of toddlers and tiaras, while also hooking viewers with stage mom drama and storylines similar to The Real Housewives. Now, John would take this concept to Brian Stinson, a casting agent who knew this idea could be a true hit. They would then approach Jeff Collins, the owner of a production company called Collins Avenue Productions. John, Brian, and Jeff, the three Dance Moms Mouseketeers, were ready to hit the ground running. But first, they needed to find the perfect cast. They would post up casting calls, auditioning mothers and daughters across America. Now, Dance Moms was never supposed to be centered around one singular dance studio. The original concept was supposed to follow a new mother and daughter each week, and then end the season at Nationals, where all the girls would go head-to-head with each other. But how did John get the dancers from the Abby Lee Dance Company's information, and how did they make it on the show? Well, if you remember the last video, Abby Lee was staying at John's house after competing with her dance company in Los Angeles. This is where she told him all the intense stories of the dance competitions they were attending, and how an 8-year-old dancer named Maddie Ziegler was wiping the floor with her competition. So John would actually put a casting call for Dance Moms in Abby's Pittsburgh studio for his docuseries titled Just Dance. Now, after posting this flyer in Abby's studio, Dr. Holly, Christy, Minister Dawn, Melissa Jasoni, Kelly Highland, and even Kathy from the Candy Apples would all see the audition. Kathy would contact her at the time friend Abby and ask if the audition was legit. Abby encouraged her to go for it, as they were longtime friends who both owned their own studios, and to audition, the mothers would need to send in photos of themselves and their daughters and also answer several interview questions. Now, the details of this story differ somewhat, depending on if you ask Abby Lee or internet royalty Christy Lucazia. Christy explains that the cast auditioned for the show just like any other contestant, and that the Dance Moms producers realized after they selected the cast that nearly everyone they picked was from the same dance studio. Now, Abby Lee seems to contest this detail and claim that the photos of the girls were actually on her website, and the three Mouseketeers of the Dance Moms production actually approached her.
I had spoken to Christy and Kelly and Melissa, and
how did you get their information?
They emailed the information. I talked to them on the phone
because it was on my website.
I don't know about that.
It was on my website first. That's how they would have known about it. But
yeah, I know that Kathy says
this
that's
is prior to casting. This is prior to any of the casting at your studio. But once I saw, I was like, these are, I really like these moms. I really like the pictures of these kids. And they had sent me some video of the kids dancing.
The pictures of the kids came from me.
Maybe.
No,
okay.
they did.
A copy. So that's when I called John and I said, I think we can do a whole, show at this one studio in Pittsburgh. These women are great. These kids look amazing. So I said, look, we're developing this project. Would you be interested? And you were like, yeah, it was great. And that's how it all started.
Little did I know.
Little did you know. And you guys had a flip camera, and I would ask questions, and Christy would go around with the flip camera and ask the questions that I asked her to ask you guys. She interviewed you. She interviewed the moms.
See, that I remember later, because she always tries to take credit for that. That I remember that later on. I was sitting in the den working on interview skills with the kids, and her saying, this guy needs me to get you on camera.
Yeah.
And I got an urgent phone call to overnight 12 program books.
Yes.
To some meeting or whatever.
So we had your program book.
They're impressive.
And the production.
You can make anybody look good in a picture. Yes.
They're amazing pictures.
Yes.
Can't look away from these pictures in this book. So that was used to help sell the show, along with this little 3.5-minute sizzle just from the flip camera footage. And not only was it Abby, not only was it the moms, but it was like the kids. They all, I've said this a million times, but they all had these perfect faces, these perfect little faces. Mm-hmm. And out of this tiny studio,
it wasn't that tiny.
Wasn't that tiny, right? In Pittsburgh,
a lot of taxes.
Comes all these stars. were born.
It was.
Nonetheless, picking the Abby Lee Dance Company as the location and subject for this new show, instead of following a new girl every week, would not only save the production company millions of dollars, but it would also create multiple new layers of storylines. See, Toddlers and Tiaras often focused on the outrageous antics of the parents in the children's pageantry world, but the show was missing a major element of interpersonal conflict, failing to really show the full underbelly behind the curtain of child stardom. But because Dance Moms would only follow one group of girls, aka the junior elite team at the ALDC, the show was actually able to document not only the ridiculous work conditions and stress these children were put through, but also the long-standing dynamics, chemistry, and drama already brewing amongst the team and their parents. Producers were sure they had a smash hit on their hands, but when they learned of Abby Lee Miller and asked the various mothers to send in videos of her, that's when they knew they had struck a reality TV goldmine. Not only would there be the typical Real Housewives, Toddlers and Tiaras drama, but Abby added a Simon Cowell essence to the show, generating animosity between her and her dance troupe, as well as the mothers. Lifetime was now looking at a storyline with over 4 different perspectives, and that could truly be taken in any direction. If a viewer wasn't outraged that the children had to go through this, they were outraged by Abby. If you weren't outraged by Abby, you were outraged by the children's mothers. And somehow, if you weren't outraged by any of it, the Dance Moms and Abby would be outraged for you. Jeff Collins and Brian Stinson had stumbled upon the most intense, dramatic, and strenuous dynamic of any reality TV show, all hidden away in a small Pittsburgh dance studio. Now, at the time, the ALDC was known on the East Coast for creating some of the best dancers the world has ever seen. But Jeff Collins and Brian Stinson were about to create an entire phenomenon out of the suburban hell these children were living through. And the Dance Moms contracts would be making a deal with the devil.
On the dance floor.
Now that Collins Avenue Productions had found their star cast, they needed to lock them into a contract so they could start shopping the show to various networks. First, the moms would sign an attachment agreement, which basically means that they agreed to do a certain amount of episodes as a trial run. If the show does well and the network picks it up for additional seasons, they would then be attached to both the production company and the network until the length of their contract is completed. Now, you would think this all sounds very standard. However, for the Dance Moms and the kids, this is where the exploitation first started. Usually, when a contract is presented, both parties would have legal counsel who would review it to ensure no one is getting taken advantage of. But according to the moms, right after being cast, they were immediately presented with a contract, giving them no time to have an attorney look it over.
It was like 6 episodes, and they're like, if you don't sign this paperwork right now, you're not going to be on it. And we're like, I remember calling Kelly. I'm like, are we signing this?
Well, Jess, no one knew it was going to be such a phenom. Each season, really, we never really knew how many episodes they were going to shoot, at least early on. Like, it just kept going and going and going. And we'd sign on for 6 episodes. We would shoot up to 36 episodes a season.
You must have been exhausted.
Yes. Well, that's why we were crazy.
Now, at the time, the moms didn't really think this was a big deal, as the show originally was supposed to be a docuseries, and they didn't think anyone would watch it past the 6-episode trial run. So they signed the contracts. What they didn't fully comprehend was that they were signing on to a lot more than just a trial period. If the show was successful and renewed, they were now contractually obligated to complete 6 full seasons, which is just about 7 years worth of filming. The original girls who were cast on the show ranged in age from 6 years old to 10 years old. Their moms had basically just signed away their entire childhoods to a production company, keeping them stuck in a toxic and environment that they would be unable to escape from for years.
Everybody who signs onto a television show signs a contract.
Yeah.
You do, and you can't just come and go whenever you choose. So that's always a big deal when someone wants to leave. So yes, they were under contract.
You would think child labor laws would have protected the girls from such an extreme contract that binds them to a TV show for 7 years. But unfortunately, shows like Dance Moms fall into a gray area when it comes to child performers. Plus, the show was filmed in Pennsylvania, which has much looser laws compared to states like California or New York. Now, the show was picked up by Lifetime Network, where the season 1 trial run began airing in 2011. The show was an instant smash hit, so Lifetime would immediately order additional seasons. And just like that, the Dance Moms and their daughters were officially stuck. Aside from how the contracts were signed and the long length of time being obligated to film, the salary the cast was paid was absolutely abysmal compared to the success of the show. Christy claims she only made $600 for the entirety of season 1.
Why did you want to join Dance Mom? For the money.
No, that wasn't much money. I made all the money. That's why she went,
I'll tell you how much money I made in season 1 of Dance Moms.
Yeah, you will
$600.
Yeah. And the kids didn't get a paycheck. We got one paycheck and had to split it.
$600. Like, think about that.
Yeah.
The Kardashians.
According to multiple reports, the girls were each paid only $1,000 an episode. And according to multiple cast members, in the beginning, the moms and daughters would have to split the earnings.
I can tell you what I first started getting paid. So we signed a 7-year contract with Lifetime Television, and my mom and I split a contract of $500 a week for maybe 2.5 seasons.
It seems like robbery to me.
No, it really is. Reality TV is so
like
underground. Like I don't even want to get into it, but reality TV is not what you guys think it is. It is not lavish whatsoever. We got treated like animals. We obviously didn't really get paid enough. We were filming 60 hours a week for a 45-minute episode. Like, from 8 a.m. to like 10:30 at night, we were at the dance studio filming. By the time the show really got started and was in like 150 different countries, our moms were like, okay, we need child labor laws. Our children need to be in school. They need time to eat. They need time to sleep, and they need to get paid for the work that they're doing.
The show also made loads of money off merchandise that used the cast's images and likeness, but the actual cast was only entitled to a measly 1% of those earnings. Now, eventually, it looks like there were some contract negotiations where the amount the girls were paid jumped to $2,000 an episode, and the moms seemed to make somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 an episode. Production and the network would also start paying out bonuses for every completed season, and when the cast participated in reunion or holiday specials. But keep in mind, these negotiations were years into the show airing after millions upon millions of dollars had already been raked in. The cast was able to utilize their newfound stardom to make money outside of the show, but this too was impacted by the Dance Moms contracts.
Does their contract require you guys to have a say in the things they do outside?
It doesn't require, yes, it does. It requires them for us to have a say in anything that they would do that might be televised or put on the internet, because not so much us, meaning me, but the network, because these are young people and we wouldn't want them to be doing or being associated with someone that might portray them in a light that could be very negative. So yeah, we're involved. We have a say in that. Yeah.
In this video, we are going to get into some of the extreme abuses of the girls on Dance Moms, but many have asked through the years why they didn't just leave. Well, aside from being contractually obligated to stay, in the agreement, it states that the girls are barred from dancing at other competing studios until the 6 seasons are completed. This was just another way to keep the girls locked in, because if they did leave, they would have to completely quit their passion for competitive dance.
Dance teachers all over the country are thanking me for saying everything they wish they could say and they can't in their own studios because they would lose their business. See, that's kind of what happened. One of the students I tried to expel. The mother I tried to expel. I had just had it up to here, and you could probably guess which one it was. But anyway, Lifetime called me and said, you have a contract. She has a contract. You cannot throw her out of the studio. You have to let the kid back in. So then a bell went off, and I thought, if they can't quit. Or I mean, if I can't throw them out, they can't quit.
Right.
So no matter what I say to them, they can't quit. So I just go for it.
Are you talking
But
about?
there's a real place.
No,
it's
you're-
coming from a real place.
There was also an entirely different contract that the mom signed with Abby Lee Miller herself. This was apparently a contract for the elite dancing team.
On the dance floor.
Now, because the Dance Moms contracts were so airtight, Abby Lee felt like she could do and say whatever she wanted.
Can't stand that I have to sit here and wait for this woman to come in here and berate us. Abby's gonna come in here. It's going to be awful.
Nice job, Chloe. Huh?
I'm done. This is not what I signed up for. Humiliation for my daughter.
I didn't humiliate her.
Yes, you
She
did.
humiliated herself.
Abby, shut up.
Angel says, girl, she doesn't even say my name. And she's being really mean to her.
During rehearsal, Miss Happy really isn't acknowledging me and like saying my name, and that kind of really hurts my feelings because I'm still a person.
If you want me to remember your name, then you need to prove it to me. Make me remember.
And because the Dance Moms would do anything to get their daughters opportunities, it created a game of chicken on national television. Abby encouraging the mothers to leave if they didn't like her abusive teaching methods, knowing full well they are locked into that contract with Collins Avenue. Each episode of Dance Moms would begin with a pyramid of the girls' headshots.
At the beginning of each week, I have kind of like a pyramid thing. Everybody wants to be on top, of course, but you have to work for it.
It's a nightmare for a child and an adult because we have to stand by and take it. Usually, if you're on the top of the pyramid, you're in the front line.
Now, at first glance, many may think this was just to measure skill and talent, and that was a factor.
It goes on behavior, work ethic, attendance, as well as have they followed all the rules. You know, all of that goes into who's going to be at the top of the pyramid and who's going to get to compete the next weekend.
But the higher Abby put your headshot, the more she liked you. The more the girls and their mothers would blindly obey Abby, the higher their pictures would rise. If your mother asked a question, or Abby just wasn't feeling you that day, even if you got first place in a competition the day before, you would be at the bottom of the pyramid. There are very few consistencies to the pyramid, and how Abby ranked each girl week after week.
The pyramid, what we never before had a pyramid actually in the studio, but I think it represented the idea in her mind of who was on top and who was on bottom. As arbitrary as it could be, I think the pyramid always existed, but it wasn't in a visual format.
Right. After season 2, they were like, oh, this pyramid's just for the show. So, but I think in the beginning it did bother them.
And then they figured out that the producers were the one that actually made the pyramid. And sometimes we would wait for hours to go into pyramid because Abby would be fighting with the producers. And then, you know, the pyramid, I mean, then we'd stand there for 5 hours, literally. I mean, that was the worst day of the week for the girls and for us. And
All the fights happened on Pyramid Day. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
But it always started with Abby being angry with the producers because she didn't like either a storyline or the title of, because that's when she would give out, you have a solo, you have a duet, these people are in the group. And the producers would determine that, and Abby never agreed to it. She always wanted to change their plans, their pyramid, their solos. So we would wait, we would come, sit, ready to film, and sit there sometimes for hours waiting for Abby and the producers to quit their fighting and arguing. And how many times, guys, did she storm out, get in her car, pull away, and we're sitting there.
And there was a disagreement about who would be placed or who would get a certain assignment. More so because if it wasn't a directive, then some kids would never dance and would never see the other spot on the pyramid except for the bottom. So I think there had to be someone else looking out sometimes, because otherwise some people would be absolutely neglected.
Yeah, you're right, Holly.
Very much agreed on that.
But there was one very common theme. For 64 out of the 126 total pyramids she was a part of, Maddie Ziegler, aka Abby's favorite, was given the highest rank. See, unlike Maddie, the other girls were still getting their education at a normal school. But to get Maddie further ahead, Melissa took Abby's advice and homeschooled her daughters. That way, Maddie and Mackenzie could spend day in and day out training at Abby's dance studio.
You're gonna love me, you're gonna tell me that you're ready to go. I'm already there, look up in the air, 'cause I'm the star of the show. I'm number one, baby, always number one, baby. So forget
all to become the very best. This not only caused Maddie to fly leaps and bounds ahead of her teammates, but it also caused Abby Lee to create a very close family-like relationship with the Zieglers. Now, I brushed on this in part 1, but the mothers who did favors for Abby and didn't talk back to her were rewarded with solos and opportunities for their daughters, in exchange for major discounts on their sometimes daily lessons. Melissa Ziegler, Maddie's mother, would become Abby Lee Miller's personal assistant and receptionist, doing odd jobs in exchange for preferential treatment and dance education for her daughters.
Everyone would say, if you don't like it, why didn't you get more privates? We tried.
Yeah, we couldn't get them.
We couldn't get them because Melissa was the one scheduling them.
Yes.
Like, Chloe had a standing
We
private
tried.
with one teacher for years.
Even when you had a standing private, they were eliminated.
She would take it.
Melissa and I just wish Melissa would be honest with the whole competition thing, but she always says, oh, it doesn't matter to me. But as soon as the cameras are off, she is a totally different kind of a dance mom. She's a stage mom, she'll do anything to get her kids ahead, but when the cameras are on, she always plays that, oh, I'm really nice and I just want the nicest things for all the kids. So that is what makes me angry with Melissa, because you don't get to be on national television and your daughter be the star when we all know what you're really like, and then play this I'm so sweet thing. So I try to call her out on that, and as soon as the cameras are off, is she not? She's the worst one.
They made me look a lot different than I really was in real life.
Well, you know, this person pretended to be so sweet and be so kind.
My little Paigey, just love it.
And help me out at the front desk. And then hold my mother's hand as she's dying. And I find out later that she went bankrupt for $3.2 million. Had I not had the forensic accountant, I wouldn't know that somebody was nipping off the top. You know, you tell people, oh, so-and-so's tap shoes didn't come in, and the tap teacher's getting really upset. So I just bought her tap shoes. You'll see the receipt in the book. I paid for the tap shoes.
We like receipts.
But you look in the book and there's a receipt written out. But when the credit card cashes out, it's way off. I paid their tuition because they were behind. So I just paid it. She cleans my house. I just paid her tuition. Yeah, you wrote yourself a receipt out, but you never put your credit card through the machine. Wow. So, and that went on and on and on and on.
She would even allegedly get Abby and her assistant choreographer Gianna extravagant gifts like Louis Vuitton bags. Maddie Ziegler was in a different league than her fellow teammates, and Abby wouldn't let them forget it, constantly comparing her young students to that of her perfectly trained dancer, Maddie.
Just delirious by that point, and if I would have competed right after Maddie would have won.
The woman, all she wants to do is knock you people down because she doesn't like me and your mom. She says we're jealous of Maddie. She's jealous of us because we don't need her approval.
Maddie was still only 8 years old, and the responsibility of having to be perfect at all times and being compared to her fellow teammates would definitely take its toll.
She doesn't feel well at all. If she pukes, I'm not cleaning it.
Maddie, I know you're not feeling well, but suck it up. We got to get through this, okay?
She looks green practically and pale. She looks horrible. She's crying.
Sweetie, why the tears?
Because my stomach's hurt.
See that picture? That's the position you need to be in.
I have to go check on Maddie. It looks like she's going to throw up. Go. Stop crying. Stop acting like this. Okay, stop crying. It's making it worse. What do you mean? You never leave dance, Matt.
Now, because Maddie was on top of the pyramid a majority of the time, she would also be given the most opportunities by Abby out of anyone. If there was a casting agent calling Abby from Nickelodeon looking for a kid to put in a show, Abby Lee was quick to give it to Maddie. The other girls and their mothers all saw this happening and were admittedly jealous and envious of Maddie and her opportunities. This would cause them to follow Melissa's method. Do anything they could to either get points with Abby or to throw their fellow dance moms and their daughters under the bus.
You know, I love you. And when those women say bad things about you, it hurts my heart, and it hurts Maddie's heart too.
And I just walked right out of the room. I was like, I'm embarrassed, so I need to leave.
How these kids disrespect you too. Chloe rolls her eyes in class all the time.
I know.
What I'm upset about is that Chloe leaves class early all the time. On Monday, she went to the doctor's, and Kelly, Christy's so-called best friend, which they're not,
called me and said, oh, Christy's taking Chloe out of school early today. Take her to the doctor's, and then she's taking her to the movies.
Melissa, who cares what they think?
They're just jealous of our relationship, and they got to get over it.
I have her best interest.
You always have my daughter's
Where did she go?
This created a toxic pressure cooker that few adults could withstand, much less a child. But because of their contracts, they couldn't leave, even if they wanted to. This couldn't be more true for a 9-year-old dancer named Chloe and her 34-year-old mother, internet royalty Christy Lukasiak. Abby Lee Miller would mentally torture a 9-year-old Chloe, all in the name of her mother. Across nearly 5 seasons of Dance Moms, always pitting Maddie, her star student, against the quiet and vulnerable Chloe, who was always just trying to do her best.
Abby sent Chloe for a title at a competition and didn't have Maddie entered. Well, Melissa heard about it and went down and did it.
Chloe has nothing for her solo, and Maddie's solo is done. We talk about the kids getting very little time and attention compared to Maddie. I say I feel defeated. Then we talk about how Melissa's role, like how she contributes to the favoritism. What kills me is Melissa plays the I'm so nice part, and I say when she's the sneakiest, most underhanded person of all of us. She takes music producers out for coffee. She takes judges to lunch. She sends gifts to the competitions in America. And everybody you guys are nodding along because I'm not saying anything that we don't all know.
She was not in the Freaks Like Me video because Abby said if that she put Chloe in it, she wasn't allowed to have any of the other girls in it.
Aww. Competition after competition, Chloe would get second place to Maddie, always being told second is what? The first to lose. And if Chloe dared show an emotion or get upset about it, Abby would retort for her to save her tears for the pillowcase. This was for all the young girls at the Abby Lee Dance Company, with the exception of Maddie, who was nearly never corrected when she cried and was at times allowed to do whatever she wanted.
Yes, let's go in the hallway. I'm not going anywhere.
Just won.
My daughter's happy.
Let's go in the hallway. Do you want to talk about all the things that need to be talked about?
Not here,
because
not now. This
you
is the
won't
weekend.
talk about it, and you won't talk about it.
I won't ever talk about it.
You're making my daughter cry, so shut it.
Talk about what?
And how many times has my daughter beat your daughter this year? We was stacked against everybody this weekend because you did it.
This dynamic was openly recognized on the show by Abby Lee, the mothers, and most tragically, the young girls, who never felt they could live up to the greatness of Maddie. Out of the 85 episodes she was featured in, Chloe was on top of the pyramid 9 times. But just because you made it to the top did not mean you were safe. Abby would ensure that their week was extremely difficult, giving them the true Maddie treatment.
I know you all are wondering, how could she be on top of the pyramid? Not only is she going to do a solo this week, and not only should she win, I demand that you win. Peyton, we all know everyone is replaceable. You were not the right replacement for this group.
Even going as far as to sabotage their routine, so they would make a fool of themselves at the top of the pyramid, thus giving Abby a reason to never put them at the top again. Or even worse, put them on probation. Now, Abby putting a girl and her mother on probation is pretty much self-explanatory. Labeled on the pyramid that would make your week a social nightmare. Abby and the moms she was linked up with would often shun the mothers and daughters on probation. Abby's excuse for this was to test if after being benched and mistreated for weeks, if the mothers and daughters would stay or quit. This often ended in the daughter quitting the team, some to return, others to never come back again.
Isn't that crazy that children look like children? She's dressed appropriately.
You're the minister. Out of the room. Out. Reagan, goodbye. Out.
You're not throwing her out.
Oh, yes, I am, and you with her. Go.
No, you're not.
Yes, every week we put the trash out. Go.
Does it not hit in your head that maybe you're wrong?
No!
Abby's favorite saying during the pyramid was, "It's difficult to get to the top of the pyramid. It's even harder to stay there." After the pyramid, the girls would be thrown directly into rehearsal, where they would be given only 2 days to learn their routine. Now, this wasn't always the case, as the girls Abby liked often performed routines they had already practiced for months before. But the girls who Abby didn't care about or who fell by the wayside, they'd be thrown into a routine, have to learn, rehearse, and clean it up in a week to 2 days, all while Abby was verbally tearing them to shreds. The show would document the behind-the-scenes drama, interview the moms with pointed questions about each other, and stitch together an interweaving storyline that was more times than not somewhat contrived. All of this drama leading up to the showcase at the end of each episode. Then they'd have to compete with these inadequately rehearsed routines against girls who'd been training for months, all in front of the entire world on national television. Executives looked over the first season of footage as soon as it was done filming and immediately wanted more before it even aired. The cast of Dance Moms' interpersonal drama that spanned years was intoxicatingly addictive and felt truly authentic. Christy explaining that receive a call from a Lifetime executive ordering a season 2 from Collins Avenue Entertainment.
So by the time we got to whatever the episode was that the agent from New York came to the dance recital, that we did the awful mom dance, the producer came to us and they were like, listen, the network wants more episodes. And we were like, wait, it was supposed to be 6. And they're like, yeah, no, they think this is gonna be a great show. And we're like, it's not even aired yet. And they're like, it doesn't matter. They think it's great. They want more episodes. So we're going on the road this summer. And I was like, I can't go. And he's like, what do you mean you can't go? And I said, I have a 1-year-old. I had Clara. And I said, I can't leave Clara. And he said, oh, no. He's like, we will hire you a nanny to come with us. He was like, pack your bags, we're going on the road. So we did. We had a couple of weeks break after we found out that we were gonna film more episodes, came back in June, literally packed 155 suitcases. That's what it felt like because we were going on the road for 6 weeks. Drove to the studio parking lot, got on a bus, and started like our cross-country trek.
Christy recalls being bewildered. The moms, daughters, nor Abby had any idea how huge the show would become. What was initially a 2-episode appearance for the moms had turned into a multi-season reality TV show, and season 2 would begin filming before season 1 even had the chance to air. The first episode of Dance Moms would premiere on July 13th, 2011, to over 1 million viewers, bringing a renaissance to the Lifetime network. And by the next season, the viewership would double. Dance Moms was a certifiable smash hit. With the removal of Minister Dawn and the addition of Jill and Kendall in season 2, Dance Moms would truly find its footing as one of the greatest reality TV shows ever created. The Dance Moms producers, Abby Lee, the Dance Moms, and subsequently their daughters would fall into the Hollywood machine, each emerging as a star in their own right, or in Mia's case, her own life. Music career after music career would spawn from the show, Mackenzie Ziegler being Abby's project, being transformed into a female rapper much like Maddie B, named Mac Z. Abby would produce music videos and even an entire album for Mackenzie, but the Dance Moms record deals were seemingly predatory. Now, if you're a deep diver, you already know me and Shelby have extensively documented the various predatory music producers, labels, and contracts that inundate your favorite stars. And sadly, 6-year-old Mac Z was no different. Mackenzie alleges that Abby Lee Miller pressured her into signing with Kismet Music in exchange for, quote, technically and commercially satisfactory records. Kismet Music guaranteed Mackenzie that they would secure her a recording contract. According to Mackenzie and Kismet, neither of them followed through with their ends of the deal. But Kismet grossly underpaid Mackenzie. The record company said Mackenzie was label hopping while violating the exclusivity deal in her contract. Needless to say, Abby had gotten Mackenzie in a mess, one that Mackenzie would have to deal with through her teen years, all while Abby was in prison. If you ask Abby, she has a different story about Melissa and Mac Z entirely.
And then have her kids sign a 360 deal with me to produce their music. They go to #1 in 3 countries, and then so just leave. That? Well, I don't know. I haven't seen a penny. No. Not 1 penny. I was reimbursed for my expenses for a video. It's still making money today. Who's getting that? Where is it going?
Nonetheless, Mac Z was a project Abby was truly inspired by, whereas her second project with Kendall Vertes, otherwise known as Kendall K, was more so because Jill started doing more favors for Abby.
I am for the whole team. I am not just for Maddie. They call me and they want Maddie. They don't want Nia.
Now, this caused Dr. Holly to go behind Abby Lee's back and recruit Danity Kane legend Aubrey O'Day.
Aubrey is a singer-songwriter. She was part of a girl group called Danity Kane, and she was also a part of making the band with P. Diddy.
Giddy up, now wake diddy up, diddy up, diddy up.
To produce her daughter Nia's music career instead of Abby Lee. This poisoned Abby against Nia. Abby often encouraging the other girls and their mothers to leave Nia out and not participate in her musical projects.
For Kendall, it's easier for her to be happy because Abby, she's promoting it. She's excited about it. Why is that? There's no need to be on a mission to make Kendall's video better than Nia's.
The only girl who supported Nia through thick and thin was JoJo Siwa, who would appear alongside her in multiple music videos and performances. Nia's music career lit a fire under Abby as she began to push Kendall K's music career.
Holly and Nia and the little kind of backstabbing. For her to do her own project on her own, it's kind of like I'm out for a vengeance. I'm out to compete. I'm out to be better than that.
If Nia recorded a new song, Abby would record an album with Kendall. If Nia was doing a music video with Aubrey O'Day, Kendall K would do one with Abby. This back and forth would all come to a head when Dr. Holly, Abby, and Jill would plan live performances on the same day, forcing all the Dance Moms girls and their mothers to pick a side.
Pick a side, pick a side.
The only girl siding with Nia, again, being JoJo Siwa. While Wear 'Em Out, Kendall's first single, was a success in the Dance Moms world, Kendall would actually be shelved by Abby for over a year, completely killing any momentum her first single had. This even played out on the show, Jill intensely questioning Abby about when her daughter's next single would be released, and Abby putting it off until she literally couldn't any longer. After 2 years of sitting on an entire album of Kendall's music, Jill alerted Lifetime producers that she had sent Abby a legal letter, completely severing ties professionally pertaining to Kendall's music career.
You've held her up for 2 years. She's had a whole album you've been sitting on. So, Abby, what's going on with Kendall and all that music?
I don't know. It's my attorney. Got to figure out what we're doing.
That's why my attorney contacted your attorney to get it taken care of.
You're nobody, and you're nothing.
She's not nobody. She has.
No, she isn't.
No, she's
4
not.
years ago, before I put your ass in a chair,
And so were you, Abby. You were nobody too. When I met you, your car was impounded.
My dad died, and he did my billing, Jill.
To use these kids to put you where you are now.
My music video is this weekend, and I haven't shot a music video in like 2 years. You know, this one's obviously gonna be different because one, Abby's not managing me. It's kind of like it's my song now. Abby doesn't own it. If Abby says anything mean towards you guys, it's probably just because I have a music video this week.
I don't care. I don't manage Kendall's music anymore.
But this wasn't the only situation the Dance Moms and their daughters would find themselves entrapped in.
Living on the dance floor.
The set of Dance Moms was, at best, emotionally abusive and at worst, physically hazardous. Over the course of Dance Mom's success, multiple members of the ALDC have expressed negative self-image on and off the show. A study conducted in 2015 showed that the largest contributing factor to a child's negative self-body image is their parents' own negative self-body image. And the Dance Moms back in 2011 to 2017, well, they were pretty ruthless towards themselves and each other.
I keep hearing the moms talk about work they'd like to have done, you know, to retain their youth. Well, I thought of an idea, nip and tuck. You know, a little here, a little there.
I never worry that my kids can't handle a dance or concept that Abby has to show them. My girls totally know what liposuction is because I always talk about it. I would love to get it.
Well, I'm getting a boob job.
Well, good. I thought you wanted to do it for your 40th.
I was going to do it for my 40th birthday. And then if I like them, then I'll get my out.
Maybe I'm being naive, but I don't think anybody struggles with body image. I think they all kind of like own it. I was built like that. You know, like
so was
super skinny.
Sadly, what the ALDC members have said about themselves is nothing in comparison to what Abby told them on a daily basis.
Did you even see Nia?
That doesn't mean she wasn't working. Stop lying about my kid.
I can see by the size of the thigh, butt mounting in the air.
Hush your mouth.
I'll tell you what I saw when I walked into the bathroom was my daughter crying, going like this
to her thigh, crying, "My body is my body, there's nothing I can do." Since I got here, and so is she, her feet, her knees, her legs, her thighs, her rib cage, her shoulders, her elbows, her hands, her hair, her neck's not long enough.
Touche, you got it.
So when I started on Dance Moms, I had a lot of exposure very quickly, and that led to a lot of body shaming.
On camera, she's like, "You suck, you're freaking terrible, your feet are absolutely horrible." One time she told me that the bottom of my feet looked weird because, like, the top of my feet were brown and the bottom were white, and none of the other people's were like that. And she was like, "It looks weird on the barley." And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm black.
She has names with her stomach. Like, they'd be any skinnier. And she'll be like, "Suck in your stomach," and she calls it a name.
No, Kennedy Mackenzie.
Yeah, Broken Mackenzie.
Kennedy is Bob.
She didn't want to teach us. She was over us. She called us old and washed up and slugs and fat.
This is the dark reality of what the Abby Lee Dance Company had to face day in and day out. But somehow, the show gets even darker behind the scenes. Through various podcast clips and interviews, the cast of Dance Moms have revealed that the young girls of the ALDC would often be locked in the bathroom for extended periods of time. This was due to the production team needing to capture some of Abby's most explosive moments with the moms. According to a talent manager, the ALDC kids were not allowed to leave the bathroom stalls until the arguments calmed down. And if you've watched Dance Moms, you know how frequently those arguments happened. The girls would also often be forced to be on camera. In Kelly's lawsuit that we're going to get into a little bit later, she alleges that the producers knew how anxious the show was making a young Paige feel.
Paige, I think you're having like anxiety, and she gets you so nervous that you can't function. Like, this is not right over dance class. We have to get out of here. We have to get out of here.
But look in here. I just did my cat.
Many of the moms have also said that the girls would regularly hide away from the cameras just to get a moment of privacy. But the producers would invade that privacy by hiding microphones in places they knew the kids tried to hide out in. This includes the bathrooms. Nowhere was off limits for filming these young girls. Every bit of their life, from rehearsals, private lessons, and competitions, were all captured by Collins Avenue production cameras. The production team also loved to stir the pot to create more drama than there already was. If a producer heard a dance mom or daughter saying something that would rile Abby up, they would immediately alert Abby of what was said and the child's location in hopes that she would go running over there to yell at them. If a producer caught a flaw in a child's performance that Abby didn't catch, they would alert Abby of that as well and send her storming after either the child or, in some cases, even the judges.
On the dance floor.
As the story goes, at the beginning of Dance Moms, the competitive dance world had already ravaged the Ziegler household, causing Melissa to separate from her husband and father to her children, Kurt Ziegler. While she was doing this, she actually caught feelings for her boss, Greg Gisoni, even allegedly introducing some of the Dance Moms to him in a super secret car trip. Now, after the first season of Dance Moms premiered, the mother of Greg's children and now his ex-wife allegedly had no idea that Melissa and him were together, and even allegedly made a huge storm on social media. Now, this is contested, as the original social media post from Greg's ex-wife is unfound, but it makes logical sense due to the subsequent lawsuit threats that were to come. As when Melissa started wearing a big ring on her finger, all the Dance Moms questioned what was going on.
Melissa has a big rock on her finger, and I don't know why she's being so secretive about it. It's like, I mean, every time I ask her about it, she's just like, oh, it's no big deal.
When production asked Melissa about it, she refused to answer. She knew her love life could be reality TV gold, and she'd already seen what Dance Moms had done to her friendships. Producers pushed this boundary by asking all the other Dance Moms what Melissa had told them.
I heard about the engagement. So are you going to be in the wedding? Do you think I'm going to be in the wedding?
My mom is engaged, but she wants to keep it quiet.
Can't believe you're not more excited about the wedding. What do you think of the ring?
Beautiful.
I love the story.
No, don't say it.
What story? Mackenzie, shh, tell me the story. Come here.
I don't know what story.
You lie.
We're not supposed to tell Abby anything. She's a blabbermouth.
What?
No, seriously, I don't know the story.
You don't know the story? What's Chloe? She's a weirdo. What's she making up?
I don't know what story they're talking about.
Why aren't you wearing your ring?
I'm not wearing it anymore. Melissa still won't talk about her engagement, and now she's not wearing her ring. What is going on here?
Doesn't that hurt Greg's feelings, though?
It's just how we're doing it.
Did the girls say anything about it? You don't wear it? Did they notice it?
Abby, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but these people are starting this again. So my kids and I are leaving and we're not going this weekend. Come on, Maddie. Addie can go without me. If you're gonna take care of her.
I will take care of her.
Greg, please call your attorney. These are doing this again.
This caused Melissa and Greg's attorney to serve the production company that made Dance Moms and the fellow mothers with cease and desists on the actual show.
Can we discuss?
About beating around the bush?
I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to ask you flat out. Did you people get a letter too?
Okay, I was waiting for someone to bring up the letter.
All of the moms received a letter from an attorney saying to cease and desist discussion of Melissa's personal life. I can't believe that she sent a letter to all of us from an attorney that was hired.
What friend sends you a letter from
And then
an
if
attorney?
you do...
Well, we have to bring up an awkward subject, Melissa.
What?
The letter. The attorney that we all got.
It wasn't from me. It's from his attorney, not my attorney.
I even felt such betrayal, just to be honest, because I'm like, I can't even believe most of you are that upset that I would get something from an attorney.
But like I said, I didn't send it.
Who lies all the time?
Okay.
Who had an affair with her boss? Who's living with a man who's still married?
I did not have an affair with my boss.
Yes, you did.
No, I did not, bitch. There, I said it.
There's a new word. We haven't used that one yet.
So she knows exactly what she's doing.
You are more worried about your friendships with all of these women than your own kids, and you know it.
My kids?
The same thing about worrying about a guy instead of your own kids. Yes.
My kids come
Going
first
from
to
one
me.
husband to another instead of just worrying about your kids? Please.
We have a happy household.
Well, your kid doesn't look very happy to me. Really?
Absolutely.
I think Sophia Lucia rocked her world.
Now, in an interview with ET, Melissa actually said this entire storyline was concocted by Dance Moms producers.
Like they gave all the moms a letter from me. I think it was an invoice for something.
They created situations to get us all wound up.
Right.
To get the group.
And no one knew the truth. No one knew.
I would never sue my friends, just saying.
Could you not talk about that during the time of filming?
Oh, of course, but they can edit you any way they want to edit you.
Yeah, there were a lot of things said not in the context where they had us saying them.
Sending the mothers letters to make it look like they came from Melissa's attorney. Melissa revealed this is why she maintains that she never actually sent the letters.
But like I said, I didn't send it.
This was a major turning point for the production of the show, as it was the first time the Dance Moms producers had tried to exploit someone's personal life, and the moms seemingly sided with production, doing whatever they asked.
I mean, it was a TV show. It was reality. We fought because the producers really put a lot of things on our plate to fight about.
Give me a break. If you could sleep with Abby, you would, and you know it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's how you tend to get ahead in life, Melissa.
Oh, yeah, I sleep with everybody.
You do, boss.
I'd never slept with my boss.
Yes, you did. You married him.
Yes, I married
Yeah,
Greg
after you
after.
slept with him and had an affair when he had a wife. And you had a husband.
Guess what? I didn't sleep with him. And don't start with me again,
You
Christy.
did.
You know what?
I know. Storm out. We
Oh,
love
I
it.
am storming out because this is not being brought
Sue
up.
me. She didn't make it easy on any of those six little girls.
Like, would the producers give you a specific thing to fight about? Or like,
Oh
what?
my gosh, so they're texting you while you're sitting there.
Oh, I forgot about that. They would
Yes.
text you guys.
Prompt. Imagine you've been watching people on TV for 5 years. Like, to actually walk into a room with those people and then be told you have to say mean things about their kids or about that to them.
Yeah. And then I think the producers, they would get mad when you wouldn't like go with what.
Well, I mean, they're
wouldn't.
just doing a job
Yeah.
too. Like, everybody's just trying to make a good TV show. I mean, I actually like the producers. I'm still friends with a lot of them on social media.
This created an entirely new show, one with puppet masters crafting every single argument through their puppets, aka the Dance Moms. Melissa and Ashley thoroughly explained the producers' antics on social media long after the show aired.
Whenever they did new auditions for new kids for the show, it was all made up. They never added kids. It was just to help with like an episode or to make something more exciting. And we would tell the moms, this is not real. Your kids are really not going to be on Dance Moms, but they'd still act crazy and try to get on the show.
I think what surprised me the most about doing Dance Moms, I was like, I'm kind of a good actress. Like, I can kind of play a part. So I was hired to come in and shake things up. Like, that was my job. Without the moms causing drama, there was no show.
Yeah.
Like, if everybody sat on the steps and was like, oh, my daughter's so good, oh, she's so pretty, there would be no show. And if we wanted a contract, I had to do, I'd walk in the morning and the producers would like ambush me, like 3 of them. We need this and we need this and we need to have a good week this week. And the hard thing is like, you don't really understand how things are going to play back on TV because you've never done it before.
And they edit the crap out of the episodes.
Yes.
Things will happen that never happened, and then you watch it back and you're like, wait, they just made me look like the bad guy, but that literally never happened.
Oh, you would go sit in an interview and they would literally feed you lines and you would have to just repeat it.
Repeat it.
No idea where they're going to insert it in the episode. Jill and Kendall had an audition to go to. And their deal with the producers was, if you start a fight with Ashley and walk out, we'll let you go. So literally that was what happened. And I did nothing. I said nothing to make Kendall yell at me.
Woman, to talk to my child.
So when she yelled at me and it didn't make any sense, they had to insert something.
Yeah, in the interview, they made her say like, Jill's just upset that Brynn had a better season than Kendall. And
You're just jealous that Brynn has had a better season than Kendall.
And then they inserted it in the episode, so it made it sound like she said it during Pyramid, but she never did. Like, literally never.
Yeah, you gotta, if that bothered you gotta go back and watch it and realize that they
didn't show your face. They just like insert the voice and like are not showing your face.
Yeah, it pans back to me.
So I know there are reality shows which are loosely scripted. Ours was not, we never got a script.
We never got a script, but they knew what they wanted every week.
Well,
And that set you up. And that's what reality shows did,
The producers would have 3 storylines that they really manipulated us to get to. They would create these storylines just from listening to us talking. We had those mics on.
Could you not talk about that during the time of filming?
Oh, of course, but they can edit you any way they want to edit you.
Yeah, there were a lot of things said not in the context where they had us saying them.
Kira, for instance, threw a bottle at a camera person or a producer, and it made it look like she was throwing it at one of us. And
but she was mad. She was mad at the producer. She whipped the bottle and they made it look like she was throwing it at Jess.
Walk your happy ass that way and back straight. Thank you.
Wow.
You're trying to make up to cause drama. So walk your that way. I'm sick of her.
They were also involved in the dance competitions the children competed at. Now remember, this is competitive dance, and the competition is fierce. It's just like any other sport, but with even more politics. From preemptively pulling numbers to bribing the judges, the dance teachers would stop at nothing to not only win, but bring their competition down. For instance, don't get me wrong, I think the ALDC is full of very talented dancers, obviously. But for Abby to have an over 13 competition first place winning streak, it seems like there could be some reality TV magic at play. And according to Kira and Kalani, there definitely was. During a live event in 2018, they explained that because of child labor laws, many of the dance competitions were actually invitationals.
On Dance Moms, some competitions fake.
They're not fake, but they are Well, okay, yeah. They kind of are. Because there's child labor laws. So they can't go to a real dance competition because, no, they can't go to a real dance competition because they can't con anybody to switch the scores. Okay, well, that's true too. But the other reason is because whenever we go to dance competitions with child labor laws, we can't work more than 10 hours. So if we were at a real dance competition, there's times where you perform at 8 in the morning and then you don't perform until 11:30 at night. And that would not be good. It would be breaking the law, which they did before, but we don't do it anymore. Changing the scores.
See, many existing dance competitions wouldn't allow the show Dance Moms to film. With an invitational, the producers could be in charge of the judges panel and switch the scores if they didn't fit their storyline, as well as to allow Abby to argue with a panel of judges without harming her dance career.
After Chloe won, Abby pulled the judges into a production room because she completely disagreed with their decision. And she won. That Chloe won. She was not having it. She pulled the judges into the room and gave this long sob story about how Chloe has fans and Instagram fans and she's never in class and this is why she doesn't deserve to win and I don't understand how you guys scored her like that. Right. What does that have to do?
What does that have to do with
No.
that? What does that have
only,
to do with that
they're
competition?
only judging on what they see.
Right. And one of the judges was like, I don't watch Dance Moms. I don't care how many Instagram fans she has or whatever. I judged her on her dancing. And the rest of the judges followed. And I went in there and I was like, okay, you guys, it's time to go. Like, this is enough. It was funny because she was like, I'm a good actress. I can go in there and be happy for her and say all this to her face, but I don't think she should have won.
Man, she really has it out for that poor kid.
The production team behind Dance Moms would invite various dance teams to come compete on TV against the ALDC, inviting the general public to come watch and challenging their local dance troupes. This explains some of the more exuberant and boisterous fights that otherwise would have gotten the ALDC removed from any normal dance competition. Now, don't get me wrong, this wasn't every single competition by any means. Some of them were actually real.
Competitions were not fake. They were not set up or anything. I mean, we did have different types of competitions that we went to. Like, the competitions that we went to sometimes were small, and sometimes barely any people were there, but the competitions weren't fake.
Which explains some of the nationally renowned competitions they competed at. But this is why Abby was seemingly in with a lot of the competition judges. She had created some relationships at the real competitions they went to, but she had major influence at the invitational shows put on by production. And still, this wasn't the only thing fabricated on Dance Moms.
Here's a secret that you guys don't know. We performed all of our dances twice. So once for the judges. So that was the time where they could actually judge you. That was like for real. And then the second time was kind of like the do-over, so that they get the shots for camera, so that they can play the whole solo instead of just snippets, and they get different angles.
Many shocking moments were later revealed to be completely rehearsed or created entirely by the producers.
When Paige forgot her dance, like they on purpose didn't give her the music. So it was like the night before, and she hadn't practiced with her music, and the next morning at 8 o'clock she had to get up on stage and perform. So they'll make things happen, but we don't know.
You stepped out on stage, you started your routine, and your music skipped. So I don't know what happened with the CD. It's just scratched.
Abby has been in the dance world long enough to know that when that happens, you win. So the second Maddie's music stopped, I knew what was going on.
I think that CD was scratched on purpose. Abby would argue with me, but
I tell her, I'm like, no, Kelly said she cheated.
I said that she told me she cheated.
Oh.
Remember, she called me on the phone and was saying that Abby had her practice it without the music.
While Dance Moms was highly manipulated by producers, it made for some of the most entertaining reality television to come out of the 2010s. The Dance Moms were on a rocket ride of success that was preying on non-media trained suburban mothers and the hunger for their child to be a star. But not all the mothers could take the heat of Abby Lee or the producers. Nothing could be more true for reality TV queen and internet royalty Kelly Hyland. Abby had trained Kelly since she was only 8 years old. And when Kelly had kids of her own, she brought them to none other than the ALDC. Abby's lifelong relationships actually didn't affect the way she treated Kelly's children, Paige and Brooke. And this would boil over into the first physical fight that ever aired on Dance Moms. And it was arguably the most memorable moment from the franchise as a whole. Abby Lee would make the choice to form a new junior elite team to compete against her existing one. And the entire situation would end in hair being pulled, faces being slapped, and fingers being bitten. Now, me and Shelby will be covering that in the finale of our 3-part Dance Moms deep dive, and you don't want to miss it. We'll be getting into the various convicted predators working on set, as well as Abby, Kelly, and Christy's ultimate smackdown. How JoJo would defend Abby to the bitter end, and how the reunion would shake up Dance Moms forever.